Hello guys, the awaiting story is here, A Ghost as a Nurse. Very interesting story with moral lessons. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Amara Okoye was a Nigerian African nurse, 26 years old, tall and very beautiful. She was a dedicated nurse who loves her job, known in the hospital for her gentle smile and caring hand. She was not just any nurse, but the kind of nurse everyone would pray to meet when they were sick. She worked in a very big hospital in Nigeria, a place she considered her second home. Sometimes, she stayed longer than her duty hours, not because she was forced, but because it's her joy caring for patients. Amara lost her father, Mr. Okoye, at the age of 12, and was left only with her mother, Mrs. Grace Okoye, a prayerful widow who worries much about her children all the time, and her younger brother Chinedu, who always looks up to Amara as his second mother. One evening, as she was getting ready for her night duty, the kind of night duty that steals sleep, strength, and sometimes hope, Amara stood in front of a small mirror in her room. She adjusted her nursing uniform and tied her hair neatly. Her face looked tired, but she still smiles anyway. Her mother called her, "My daughter, you know that night duty is not easy. Please be careful." "Don't worry, Mama, God is with me," Amara said gently. As Amara was about leaving for work, her younger brother Chinedu called and said, "Big sister, when you come back, you will help me with my homework, right?" Amara smiled gently, touched his head and said, "Of course I will, but make sure you take care of yourself and Mama." She picked her bag, said a short prayer in her heart, and stepped out for her work. The road was quiet, the street lights flickered. The air felt cold, and something about the night felt heavy. But Amara ignored it and entered a taxi driven by Mr. Musa. "Good evening, madam," Musa greeted, and Amara replied kindly, "Good evening, sir." As the taxi was moving, Amara stared out to the window. She thought about her patients, the old man she promised to check on. She also thought about her best friend Nurse Bisi, who might be waiting for her at the hospital. But little did she know that the night would change everything. As the driver increased the speed, Amara shouted for him to stop speeding. Suddenly, there was a loud horn, bright light, and screamed. Everything happened in seconds. Another vehicle lost control and crashed into the taxi. Glass was scattered, metal bends, people gathered around. Amara's eyes were slowly closed. Her nurse uniform was stained with blood, the same uniform she always wore to save lives. People rushed to help. Someone raised an alarm to call for ambulance. Ironically, ambulance came from the same hospital where she worked, and they were almost to the hospital when the incident happened. She was unconscious as they lifted her to the ambulance. If only she knew, she wouldn't have stepped out for the night. When the ambulance got to the hospital gate, the security guard, Mr. Elijah, looked closely into the ambulance. His heart skipped. "This is Nurse Amara," he whispered. In the emergency room, chaos began. Doctors ran, nurses shouted instructions. Dr. Adeyemi, the senior doctor in the hospital, froze as he recognized her face. Nurse Bisi rushed in, Amara's best friend, and screamed, "This can't be Amara." And tears dropped down her face as she held Amara's cold hand in fear. The nurse who always comforted others was now fighting for her own life. Outside the ward, Nurse Bisi, her friend, seated on the floor, crying and praying for her friend. Machine deep and blood was transfused. Doctors and nurses tried everything. At home, Mrs. Grace suddenly waked up from sleep. Her heart was beating very fast. She held her chest and whispered, "Oh God, please protect my only daughter out there." Minutes later, her phone rang. "Mama, Amara had an accident and was admitted in our hospital." "Ah!" The hospital corridors that once echoed with Amara's footsteps now echoed with prayers and tears. Would Amara wake up? Would the nurse who saved many lives survive her own battle? Nurse Bisi, her friend, asked in fear and panicking. Will she ever walk on those corridors again? Or would this night duty, the last journey she would ever make? One of them asked. As the sun slowly rose, the machines beside her bed made a long sound. The nurses looked at each other in fear and surprised. Nurse Bisi, her friend, held her breath, and the whole hospital waited. At this point, everywhere went silence. Hours passed, morning came, sunlight entered the ward, still Amara did not wake up. Her mother, Mrs. Grace, walked in slowly with her younger brother, Chinedu. Immediately she saw her daughter on the medical bed. She screamed, "Amara, wake up!" She held her hand, It was very cold. She cried and prayed loudly. God, please don't take away my only daughter from me now. Chinedu stood beside her mother, saying nothing, but tears were rolling down from his eyes. Dr. Samuel called the mother, Mrs. Grace, to his office. He spoke to her gently. Please try to be strong. We all know the accident was very bad. Her head was injured with other minor injuries, but we will try our best to make sure she get back on her feet. When all the nurses has resumed their morning duties, Amara's news was spread. The nurses who have not heard of the incident before stopped laughing immediately the news got to them. The hospital felt heavy and very calm. Patient asked questions. Will she be okay? Will she wake up? But no one had the answer. Everyone was concerned about her because of her good manners. Mr. Elijah, the hospital gateman, looks ups and down. He was confused about the whole thing. He remembered how she was laying on a cold blood inside the ambulance. Night came again, and Bisi, her friend, have not gone home. She keeps on checking on Amara. She sat beside Amara and was talking to her. Amara, she said softly, if you can hear me, please fight. We still need you. Her tears fell on Amara's hand. Suddenly, Amara's finger moved, just a little. Nurse Bisi screamed, Doctor! And Doctor rushed in surprise. Amara opened her eyes, just for a moment. She looked at Nurse Bisi, her friend. She tried to smile, then her eyes closed again. The next day, in the morning, when Dr. Samuel came out from the emergency room, his face looked tired, and Mrs. Grace, who has not returned home since she came, stood up in fear. The doctor shook his head slowly and in pity. I'm sorry, madam. She couldn't make it, he said. The woman cried heavily and was bittered. The nurses rushed to console her. Chinedu also cried without stopping. Nurse Bisi fell on the floor weeping, she said. The nurse who saved many lives has lost her own. After the burial, which happened 2 months, she passed on. The nurses returned to work. Doctors also resumed their duties, but something felt different. At night, lights flickered more than before, and the air felt cold. When Nurse Bisi entered the general ward to check on the patient, Nurse, one of the patients called. Someone strange helped me last night. Nurse Bisi smiled gently and said, it must be one of the nurses on night duty. The patient shook her head and said, no. She was tall, she smiled, she wore white, and she told me that I will be fine soon. Nurse Bisi felt cold and said, that was Amara's voice. Mr. Elijah was at the gate. At exactly 2 a.m., he saw a shadow walk past. He looked his 2 sides. He raised his torchlight and asked, who's there? But no one answered. But the shadow stopped and turned. Then it was Amara. When he looked again to confirm it was her, she was gone. That same night, Mrs. Grace dreamed where she saw her late daughter. Amara stood beside her mother. Mama, she said softly, do not cry. I am at peace, and I'm still helping. Mrs. Grace woke up with tears on her face, but this time she smiled. Dr. Samuel heard the stories, but he did not believe on that. Grief can play tricks, he said. But one night, he stayed late. The nurses were done administering medications and all went to rest. Then he decided to check on a patient in the private ward around 12 a.m. As he walked on the corridor alone, he heard soft footsteps. But when he turned, he couldn't see anyone. As he got to the patient room, he saw a nurse fixing a drip. Thank you, nurse, he said. She turned and smiled. It was Amara. Dr. Samuel froze. As he blinked, she was gone. Thanks for watching and listening to my story. I'm Nurse Grace, and I am the masterpiece of the story. After many nights, the hospital understood it was not fear, but love. Nurse Amara was not appearing to scare them, but to care. She wanted to stay in a place where her heart lived. Moral lessons: love does not die, kindness does not end, and good people leave light behind. Some nurses go home tired, some go home late, some go home forever, but their care remains. The hospital still stands. And whenever night comes, the nurses will always say, may the spirit of Amara guard us, and the corridors feel warm again. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel and turn on that notification bell for more stories like this. Bye!